Welcome to CX in the Wild Season 3. Let's catch up with Dennis on Safari now.
All right, let's start with who you are and what you do.
All right, so my name is Sonal Seth. I am the co-founder of the Gamification Company. I have been an entrepreneur for over 12 years now, while Gamification Company is a little over 3-year-old baby now.
Okay, and so you founded this company. It's only 3 years old. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so actually it's an offshoot of an earlier company that I also co-founded. So from there, we got into gamification by a customer demand, actually, so to speak, in 2016-17. And then we hit a pivot and we thought that this is the area and the space that we want to grow into. And hence we founded the Gamification Company in 2019.
You know, my audience would know that I've been very interested in this particular space because I think just from a cultural perspective, let's call it a digital culture perspective, first of all, probably the generation, starting with my generation, I'm in my 50s, and then going into the people in the 40s, 30s, 20s, I feel like, and even generations beyond, they really appreciate recognition,
Right.
achievement. They work in collective groups for likes or shares, or, you know, the whole social media landscape has transformed our mentalities, our reward systems, or maybe even it's just our own personal analytical analysis of our own performance.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been following this story, and it's so nice for me to bump into you at this show. Can you tell me about your company? And, you know, gamification could mean so much. What does it mean to you and your business?
Right. So that's a very interesting question, you know, and a lot of times people think gamification is just about points, badges, and leaderboards. I just want to tell people that gamification is much beyond that. And what we really stand for, and is also the USP that we have, is that the entire play of behavioral sciences, neuroscience of play, and the inspiration we take from the Octalysis principles, which are your 8 core drivers, which primarily get us to do what we do every single day. And that is all really scientific and proven. So what we believe in, our core is talking about, you know, amplifying performance, you know, getting core business outcomes, helping in people engagement. And that's what we are for, right? So the first thing that we talk about when we talk about gamification is it's not frivolous. It is serious business. And it takes in a lot of commitment from people who want to bring it in.
Now, you mentioned that it was driven by a customer need.
Yeah.
Those are the best kind of innovations. Did you co-create this system with that customer, or how did it come into being?
We didn't co-create it. We actually, our entry into gamification started from that. The customer came with a certain demand, and like, you know, at that point in time, and way back in 2016-17, we also understood it as a fancy dashboard and a leaderboard that we thought was what meant gamification, you know, what translated into gamification, till the client actually educated us and told us, no, this is not what gamification is. It is a lot more beyond this. So the education came from the client, but then we got so interested into that space that we went back, we did a lot of our own research, we did our own strategy, and we presented back to the customer what we thought the customer wanted. And the customer was very, very happy, and we got that contract. So that's how we actually got into gaming.
And feel free to decline to answer any of these questions, because I know you just met me like 10 minutes ago, so you can say I can't answer these things. But can you tell me a little bit about how many clients do you have now?
We have, I think, over 15 clients.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
For your niche. So you're quickly emerging as a serious player. Well, just walk me through the mechanics of it. Let's pretend I'm a client and I come to you and I say, hey, I've heard about the Gamification Company. I've heard some stuff about it. Is it right for my business?
Right. So the first question we always ask is, what is the outcome that you're seeking? And like I mentioned, gamification is serious. It is a serious investment of both time, money, effort in every format. Hence, the first question we ask people is, why game? Why did you, one, A, think about gamification, and two, what is the outcome that you're seeking after, bringing in gamification in whatever format that you're looking for?
What is the outcome that they get? What is the right outcome?
So depending on what they want to use it for, right? So are they wanting to amplify their business performance? Are they looking at employee engagement? Are they interested in amplification of the learning outcomes? That is another very, very core use case of gamification. So it totally depends on what is it that they want to use it for, and what is the outcome.
What if I just wanted a new, fancier way to keep track of what my people are doing?
Well, you want an honest answer?
Yes.
We tell them, why not the people for you, right? Because again, if they're going to use it just like that because they want to try something new and they really don't know what they're wanting to get out of this entire initiative, the entire excitement of it is going to run out in no time. They're not going to get a return on investment of this entire initiative that they're going to do. And then also at the end, they're going to believe that gamification doesn't work. So that's a big, big risk that we carry. And hence, it's very, very important. One, I think it's our responsibility. Like you mentioned, it's a niche area. Not too many people know about it. Not too many people know what it can actually do for them. So we do feel that if a customer is really seriously interested, they need to be educated in terms of how it can actually work for them and get them the outcomes that they're seeking. And it's not frivolous business, right? So that's very, very important. And believe me, we have walked away from business where the client wanted to do it just like that and really didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And one of the use cases, if I were inside a major brand, this to capitalize on the younger demographics' desire to self-help or self-learn or DIY, these gamification systems, as you rightfully just mentioned, they accelerate learning because you're creating a positive motivator, multiple positive motivators for me to get my extra certifications or my continuing education or to learn or to tackle new things. And it's a great way to demonstrate the enrichment of the investment into the human side of the business in a way that seems to be measurable or
right.
And I think it's a fun way to tell this story of how we invest in our people.
Right.
Am I right? I'm making all this up. This is my perception. I don't work at a company like this, but
no, it's right up to a large extent, right? So ultimately, what does a business want really? It wants people to be happy. It wants the employees to deliver to their potential. Ultimately, it could lead to either a positive an increase in the top line or the decrease in the bottom line. So that's what businesses all work towards, right? Now, what is the enabler to all this could differ from business to business, right? Depending on what business you are in. But ultimately it should bring about some change, some difference, whether you're talking about a performance or whether you're talking about an engagement. It should, even customers, if you're wanting to use gamification for your customers, not your employees or your,
What?
Yeah.
Wait a second. I don't know why I didn't see this coming. So, I had never even considered this. Wait, did you just say that you could use your platform to invite customers to play with your brand?
Right. So not our existing platforms per se, but we have the Gamification Center of Excellence line of business through which we do a whole lot of consulting with organizations who want to bring in gamification in multiple spaces. It could be for employees, it could be for performance, it could be for customers, it could be for many, many, many other things, right? So that's, you can. Gamification is a big influencer and it helps throughout the customer life cycle if it's done in the right manner.
Where's your company based?
We're in India.
Okay. And you're all the way here in Las Vegas this week?
Yes. We've come in for the call and contact center experts,
Wow. Have you been to any other shows?
I know this is our first one.
Okay. Well, that's just fascinating. And how can you divulge what a typical engagement with you, how much do people have to invest or?
So it totally depends. We're, like I mentioned, we have three lines of, I don't think I mentioned, we have three lines of business. One is where the use of our platforms, which is the game of phones, the one which we've got here for the call center specifically today. That one, and that is built on Coribus, which is another award-winning platform. It's primarily used for amplification of business outcomes and employee engagement. We have a gamification center of excellence through which we do a whole lot of gamification consulting with organizations. Through that, we also do a lot of bespoke development, which is specialized development for clients. And we have a third line of business, which is one of our education products, which is primarily for emerging countries, right? So these are three different lines of businesses. The platform, which is Game of Phones or Coribus, as you may call it, is user license based. It's a SaaS-based platform, pretty much plug and play. You can either integrate, organizations can either integrate with their existing platforms or they can use it independently depending on what they want. Consulting is totally scope based. So based on the scope.
What country do you serve the most right now?
So we are in India. Through our Indian clients, we have customers in the Middle East. We have customers in Southeast Asia. We have customers also in the US.
But you've come to expand to the US.
Yeah, we've come to expand. Yes.
And tell me a little bit about you. You founded this business, but you founded others. Feel free, but usually on this show, I like to learn about the people. What makes a CX entrepreneur or a CX leader, or do you want to talk about all that? How did you get into the CX mentality?
Right. So before I became an entrepreneur, I was working in a senior leadership role in one of the call centers back in 2012. Pretty much like how people feel, and I feel people's pain in call centers today is because call center KPIs pretty much remain the same. You can grow in position, but you're primarily delivering to the same business and the same outcomes, which can get boring after a point in time, which is what it got for me as well. I got bored. And back in India, at that point in time, I wanted to use my experience to make a difference to the larger audience. And that's when I became an entrepreneur. I wanted to kind of work with the youth of the country to kind of make them, to upskill them, to make them employable, to empower them, for want of a better word. So that's the space that I wanted to get into. And that's where with the founder and another co-founder that we have, we're three of us, we got into that space. That was the previous organization. We still have that. We do a lot of learning and development, development consulting there. And then, like I mentioned, through that work, we had a client in that space who introduced us to gamification, and we've never looked back after that. So gamification, we thought, was need of the hour. We thought that how can you make everyday KPIs fun for employees across multiple, this is for call centers, but across various industries that we've worked with. And yeah, it's been great ever since.
Well, thank you for sharing with me. I would be interested if my audience is listening and they're curious about gamification. Certainly, I'll include your contact information. They can come to you directly. But let's say I'm just hearing about it for the first time. What is the number one best use case for gamification in 2023?
Well, 2023 has just begun, but if you ask me, the number one use case that we have actually seen behavioral transformations within the organizations that we've implemented, where there has been a marked improvement in the attrition numbers, the productivity has shot up, and the call quality has gone up. So we've seen a lot of marked improvement cases, use cases, and whoever is really interested, we can really share those use cases with them. But these are all real numbers that we talk about, right? So 15% improvement in productivity in 3 months. Attrition numbers which are lowest, we've seen 90% and more learning engagement, where we've brought in gamification in the learning space. Some crazy use cases and amazing numbers that we've seen.
Do you, is there a right size? What's the right number of people to start a program like this?
As low as 20.
As low as 20?
Yeah.
Is a number that's too big to start?
No, the bigger the better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything, because this is your area of expertise, is there anything that I should be asking you to help my audience understand more about this industry that I'm not asking you?
Right. So I think the most common question that people get confused with is gaming versus gamification. A lot of people think it's one and the same. Well, that's just one thing I want to clarify, that one, it's not the same. The difference primarily is that in gamification, we do use game mechanics, which are some of the mechanics that games also use. But on top of that, you add behavioral sciences, you add neuroscience of play, and some of the other principles that come into play to solve real world problems. And that's what gamification is all about.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks for coming on this adventure. To catch up with Dennis for CX news and industry events, visit www.denniswakabayashi.com.